How's everything going, guys? My name is the Quacken, and today I'm going to be sharing something with you guys that I was really hoping would just be a 2020 thing, but unfortunately it has spilled into 2021. And that is delayed openings around the theme park industry. But we're specifically going to be looking at the Cedar Fair chain. Now, Silver Dollar City and Six Flags St. Louis have already announced their opening day for March 20th, which is pretty typical for the, the other two parks here in Missouri. Worlds of Fun usually opens around April, but we'll get to that here in just a little bit. But Cedar Fair announced on Friday a list of opening days for every single one of their properties, with the exception of Knott's Berry Farm, because that's a year-round park, so they don't have a set date for when Knott's is going to be able to reopen. But all of the other parks, the seasonal parks within the chain, they've already put out a list of opening days for each one of these parks. And last year, Worlds of Fun was the first park in the Cedar Fair chain to open up post-COVID shutdowns. They opened up on June 22nd to season pass holders, and they opened later in July to everyone else. But that's not going to be the case this year. As the first park to open up in 2021 in the Cedar Fair chain is Kings Island. They will actually be opening up on May 8th. They will be the first park in the Cedar Fair chain to open up in 2021. So that's good news that they're opening up in May, but the bad news is that's about a month past where they normally would be opening up. But as for the other parks in the Cedar Fair chain, Cedar Point and Canada's Wonderland are going to be opening up on May 14th. And then we have a barrage of openings on May 22nd from California's Great America, Carowinds, Dorney Park, Kings Dominion, Valley Fair, Worlds of Fun. And then Michigan's Adventure will be opening up on May 29th, the week after that. Now, I'm personally a little pessimistic about three of those parks, those being California's Great America, because, well, it's in California, and we know how strict they are with their COVID guidelines. Another one is Canada's Wonderland. The government of Canada, or government of Ontario, I should say, has said that they're a little bit on the fence about Canada's Wonderland reopening that soon. They're not 100% sold on that, but I think it would be foolish not to open up Canada's Wonderland. After being closed for the entirety of last year, I think it would be absolutely foolish to not open up the largest amusement park in Canada. I mean, that would be stupid if you ask me, but that's just my take. Granted, after the hypocrisy of last year with so many inconsistencies with what was able to reopen and what was told to stay closed, I'm not the slightest bit surprised. Not at all. And Michigan's Adventure, because, well, the leader of Michigan has stated that she does not want theme parks to reopen until a cure or vaccine is available. But what really baffles me is that their water park was able to open up in July. You don't get to wear a mask in a water park when you're in like a wave pool or going down a slide or anything like that. But yet the dry park where you should be wearing a mask was to remain closed? Yeah, I'm sorry. That makes total sense. I mean, I am trying my hardest to bite my lip about politics right now, but these people's hypocrisy knows absolutely no bounds. I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. But a couple theories as to why Cedar Fair is actually waiting patiently until May to open up their parks instead of just jumping at the gun to their normal operating schedule. I mean, was kind of a little bit surprised because Silver Dollar City and Six Flags St. Louis have already announced they're opening up in March, which is pretty typical for the parks here in Missouri. But Cedar Fair is taking it patiently and they're delaying openings again. Normally, a lot of these seasonal parks would be opening up in April, or if you're Cedar Point in Canada's Wonderland, you would be opening up around that time. So it's not too much of a hit for those two parks. But as for the other parks in the chain that would be opening up in around April time, in April, it kind of makes me wonder, why are they waiting? And I have a couple theories for this. Now, the first one is a little far-fetched, and it's kind of silly, and that's because Cedar Fair is taking the health and safety more seriously than any other chain in the country. And the reason I say that is because I had heard so many stories about guests getting kicked out of Cedar Fair properties in 2020 because they were not wearing their mask. If you ask me, there are so many loopholes you can walk through to get around that. So, seriously? I mean, I get it. Rules are rules, and they're meant there for people's safety. So I have no problem with that. But there are so many loopholes that you can walk through and get around to plead your case with security officers and park management that it just really doesn't, it doesn't make too much sense if you ask me. So I had heard a lot of negative things about people who went to Cedar Fair parks in 2020, that not only were people getting kicked out of the park, but the lines were ridiculously long and they weren't able to get on as many rides as they wanted to, and it was just a bad experience at Cedar Fair parks in 2020. I mean, I have a separate reason for not going to any Cedar Fair park in 2020. And if you really want to know, just let me know in the comments and I will answer that for you. But put simply, that's the first theory I have, is that Cedar Fair is taking the health and safety of our guests very, very seriously. More seriously than any other chain in the country. And I know that sounds a little silly because the health and safety should be the top priority at every single park in the country. And rightfully so. But I'd heard so many negative things and heard so many stories about people getting kicked out of the park for not wearing a mask. So it pretty much just proved to me personally that Cedar Fair was not screwing around at all. But the second theory that I have, and this one actually makes a little bit of sense, is because they cannot afford to pay their employees on days where the park would probably be dead. Like during the spring or in fall, basically when school is in session, they're not going to be getting a ton of business on those days. I mean, there's no denying that. With the exception of Halloween Haunt and Winterfest, those festivals. That's about the only time when school is in session that Cedar Fair would be getting a ton of business. Now, other than that, like in the spring and even the fall, in the beginning of fall, business is not going to be all that great. So Cedar Fair sees this as, well, why are we wasting our revenue and our money that we probably don't have on paying our employees to just stand around and not really do a whole lot. The park's not making too much money by being open during these days where business is just not there. I mean, that's kind of my thought on why Cedar Fair is delaying every single park's opening by at least a month, with the exception of Cedar Point and Canada's Wonderland, who would normally be opening up around that time. And I'm pretty positive that Valley Fair and Michigan's Adventure don't open up until May either, but if I'm wrong about that, let me know in the comments. But I'm not entirely sure about what their normal operating schedule is like. I'm not overly familiar. I'm not sure if they open up in April or if they do open up in May. I'm clueless there, but that's just something I wanted to briefly talk about with the Cedar Fair chain. They announced 10 out of their 11 properties would be opening up in May. Again, the only one they didn't announce an opening day for is Knott's Berry Farm because they're open year-round, so it makes sense. But that's just something I wanted to share with you guys. This was posted on Friday, so you can find it on pretty much all of the park's websites. I think the easiest way is if you search the park's name on Google, there should be a little sign that says coronavirus update. You click that, and that should guide you to their most recent update, which was posted on January 28th, 2021. That should be the case for every single park. And that will tell you right then and there the opening day for each one of those properties. So let me know what you think of this video update down in the comments below. What do you think about Cedar Fair opening up in May as opposed to April or earlier? What do you think about this? I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this news update, I'd appreciate it if you gave it a big thumbs up and if you considered subscribing, because there will be a lot more coaster and amusement park content here on the Quackens Ghoster channel. Thanks for watching.